All right, hello and welcome to the official Tuesday Sweats edition, presented and powered by Rithmm. I'm going to let you guys file in as we like to do. Keep a slow start, and then we'll get going. I got a lot of things I want to talk about with you guys today. Of course, answer any questions you may have about Rithmm, but then also, fire away with particular games where maybe you bet on them and you want some more insight, or maybe you have a lean, or you're looking for more information whether or not that's a recommended bet to play it or lay off. But either way, we're going to really focus on college basketball. I love the slate today. I got a ton of games, around 35, 40 games. And I have a couple of my personal favorite system matches. And then, of course, what I always like to do, again, is add in the data-driven approach, which I am a firm believer in. And I model and bet all my games based upon reading the market. And then, again, the beauty of Rithmm and teaming up with Rithmm is we can then add that cherry on top and look what Rithmm has for some predictions here. So I'm going to let a couple people file in here. And then we'll be off and running with a big Tuesday edition of the VSiN the Rithmm live stream here. So let me just do one thing, and we will be locked and loaded. All right. So as always, I'll take you behind the scene. We gotta get the stream going. I gotta quote tweet it. As always, make sure you download Rithmm if you haven't done it yet. And then I got to retweet it from my account, and then it'll be good to go here. So let me just set all of this up. All right. Looks like we are good to go. So the official welcome as people start to file in here. This is the Tuesday college basketball live stream for Rithmm. Not all college basketball, because I do want to talk about these NFL championship lines. Saturday or Sunday's game with the AFC and NFC games, I'm seeing some early line movement, and I'm seeing some really good opportunities here, hopefully to take advantage of some Rithmm system matches. So start with college hoops. We'll then, of course, go to some NFL early thoughts on the championship weekend. So huge night here today in college hoops. I want to focus on a few games that caught my eye. So the first thing I noticed about tonight is that we have a ton of ranked teams playing, and we have quite a few of my favorite system matches, which would be the unranked home favorite versus the ranked opponent. Now, this is a system that I've stumbled upon. I didn't create it, but I've learned it through a lot of my mentors over the years. And think about the thought process here, and then I'll give you the plays here for tonight. But when you are betting college basketball, similar to betting college football, you got to remember the betting public is going to have a huge favoritism toward the team with the better record and the team with the better ranking. So hypothetically, let's say the 5th ranked team in the country plays the 20th team in the country. Obviously, the public, regardless of the number, regardless of home or road, they're going to want to play the 5th ranked team over the 20th ranked team. You get into unranked versus ranked when you are a ranked team and the opposing team is unranked. So you can be 1 through 25. All that matters is you are ranked and your opponent is not. The public sees that as the easiest bet to make that day. Just take the ranked team over the unranked team. Now, I get it. Ranked teams on paper are the better team. But remember, we're playing the point spread. So maybe these ranked teams win, but don't always cover. And then there's the kind of thought process of ranked teams just being overvalued. So because the public is going to base a lot of their initial thought, like they look at a matchup and they say, oh, this team is ranked 15th and this one's unranked. Therefore, obviously, the ranked team has to win and has to cover. But as a contrarian bettor who is really focused on, respecting the market, I don't go into any day, any sport saying, I want to bet this team, I want to bet that team. To me, I think you got to go into each day with an open mind and really say to yourself, hey, I don't know who I'm betting today, but I know I'm going to let the market, clue me into who I'm going to play based upon the way the line is moving, because 9 times out of 10, line movement is driven by respected money coming in, the odds makers respecting that sharp action and moving the number. Now, it's not always smart money. It can be an injury. It can be a weather situation. You see a lot of times, if it's a windy game in the NFL, that total will fall, not always because of smart money, but because of the wind really benefiting lower scoring games. But that premise to me is, hey, the betting market is going to tell me where I want to place my action there for that given night. But as a data-driven bettor, I want to bet against the public. I want to bet against the drunk guys at the bar who are betting based upon win-loss records, the more popular team, the ranked team over the unranked team. Those are layups for the betting public. If you walk into a bar and everyone is playing the team with a little 1 or 2 digit number next to their name, I want to be, the contrarian who's actually playing the unranked team. So that's just one thing you see in both college basketball and college football. When you're new to betting, it's like, oh, take the ranked team every time. Over time, you realize the ranked team doesn't always win. The ranked team doesn't always cover. The other thing you got to keep in mind here is that these rankings, they're not statistical based. They're voted on by people who know the sport but have their own biases at play. So with that all being said, we have a lot of my favorite system matches today. Unranked home favorite versus the ranked opponent. It is very rare that you see when an unranked team plays a ranked team that the unranked team is favored. Yet there are 3 of those system matches here today with some pretty good rhythm edges. So I want to go with that fishy side that doesn't make sense. I want to play that unranked home fave versus ranked opponent because that's kind of the ultimate just gross, makes no sense play that the data has shown throughout last 5 to 10 years has been a really smart bet overall. You're actually looking at when the unranked team plays the ranked team, especially at home and in college, you can really see these home court advantages really come into play. When you're a professional, you're a mid-20s, maybe early 30s, you've been there, done that. Home road isn't a huge deal. When you're an 18, 19-year-old kid, it can make a difference if everyone's screaming at you versus, everyone cheering you on at home. So with that being said, here are my 3, I have 5 bets overall, but my first 3 bets that I really like tonight that I've placed in pocket. Reminder, you can get all these breakdowns from my daily podcast, the All Systems Go Sports Betting Pod, spot you can get on Spotify, iTunes, all located there. But anyway, let's focus on the first one here that caught my eye. This is Missouri against Texas. Now, this one is very interesting to me for a couple different reasons. Going into this matchup, we have Missouri as quote-unquote the better team, the ranked team here. So let me just pull up my data that I can refer to. Let's see. All right, here we go. So, but if you want to sweat this one, by the way, this is a 9 o'clock game. My first 3 games are all late night sweat. So if you're an East Coaster like me, it's going to be a late night, hopefully cashing tickets. But anyway, coming into it, Missouri's the better team, right? Missouri's 15-3. They're ranked 22nd in the country. They've won 4 straight. They just crushed Arkansas 83-65, decent SEC opponent, easily covering as a 5.5 point home favorite. On the flip side, Texas, the Longhorns, they're 12-6. Started off really well. They've struggled as of late. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games, and they just got crushed by Florida, 84-60. Didn't even come close to covering as an 11-point road dog. So we have Missouri, the better team, better record, better ranking. We have Texas, worse record, unranked, and they've really struggled here as of late. But here's the important clue that I first noticed about this game. You would assume that Missouri's favored, right? Better record, better ranking. No, Texas is favored tonight. Now, they are at home, so you got to apply some home court advantage here. But this game opened around Texas -1.5, -2. And we've now seen Texas get up to -2.5. Even some shops were close to 3 today. So my question is, if Missouri is the better team, why is Texas opening as the favorite? And it's not like we've seen this line get back down to a pick 'em or it hops the fence and goes to Missouri -1 because they're the better team and the odds makers had it wrong. No, this line has moved further toward the Texas Longhorns. So why is the line going to quote unquote the worst team in this matchup? Tells me we got smart money here on the Texas Longhorns. So we first noticed that we have a fishy unranked home fave versus ranked opponent. We got the line moving toward the fishy unranked home fave versus ranked opponent, which would be Texas. Next, I like to look at the bet splits. I'm also a content contributor. I write articles for VSiN.com. If you're familiar with VSiN, I would highly recommend signing up. You can get access to a bunch of great betting material, but 2 things that you're going to love are the bet splits coming from DraftKings and Circa. DraftKings, obviously, national public book. Circa, really sharp book out in Vegas. But what have we seen here? Bet splits. What do they tell us? And ideally, you want the bet splits to kind of be moving or kind of showing a similar discrepancy to where the line is moving. Anytime you see a line go this way, but the splits maybe say the other way, those are kind of the spots where I kind of want to lay off. I want all the data to be lined up in a similar spot. So when I looked at DraftKings, Texas is getting 60% of spread bets, but 90% of spread dollars. That tells me that even though it's slightly public, you got a low bets, higher dollar split, big share of money here going on Texas, and that line is moving toward Texas. Now, one thing that I like to do in short favorite spots, Yeshuda Gold, what up, Yeshuda? Thanks for tuning in, buddy. But one thing that I like to do is money line short home favorites. This is something that I learned a long time ago, and I learned through trial by error. Because I can tell you, when I first started betting on sports, maybe I like Texas. I would lay -2.5 with Texas because I'd want to save the juice, -110. And really, when you're a new better, I don't want to assume things of people, but sometimes new bettors, they just have heard, oh, it's a spread sport. When you open your app, that's kind of the first option you look at. They don't even know really that you have an option here to money line. Now, unless you're taking a big dog and you want a big payout, or you're taking a shot there on a big upset, you don't really want to money line big favorites like minus. Really, to me, a cutoff is like I don't really want to even go above -200, -175. Yeshuda, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you, Yeshuda. Gold, Appelbaum. I don't know. Are we brethren here? But thank you for that nice comment. I appreciate you, man. But yeah, the option is there always to money line, and I think you want to use that option strategically. So, how many times, I'm going to ask you guys, whether you're betting on a football spread, whether you're betting on a college spread, how many times do you lay a 2.5 and a 3, and you see that team win by 1 or 2, and you lose your -2.5, 3, when if you went money line just to win the game, yes, you are paying a higher price here, but you're also getting the security of just having to win the game. So I became a proponent a long time ago after losing several bets. When I would lay a -2, they'd win by 1, I lose. If I just paid a little more juice, I would have won. I've become over time a very stubborn, consistent money line short home favorites guy, because if you have ever suffered a loss when you lay a 2 and they win by 1, it's like I can't sleep at night. Like it eats at you. And Yeshuda knows what I'm talking about. So yeah, 3 or less. I'm a money line short favorite guy. Long story, I'm money lining Texas tonight. The off chance Texas wins by 1 or 2 and I lose a -2, -2.5, I'm not going to allow that to happen. So I played Texas on the money line earlier today at FanDuel. I got them at -134. And the other thing I like is that if you look at these splits at DraftKings, really good bet split on the money line. You can oftentimes learn something by comparing the spread percentages to the money line percentages, because it may tell you kind of a different way that the sharp bettors are approaching the game. Like maybe they prefer the spread more than the money line, or the money line more than the spread. When a number is a really big number, like -7 or +7 or -10 +10, I kind of throw away the money line percentages just because it's not a big sample size, and I'm not going to lay a -1,000 on a huge favorite like that. But if it's 3 or less, money line percentages are meaningful to me. Long story short, only 52% bets, 77% dollars are on the money line on the Texas Longhorns tonight. So that tells me we got some respected players, like maybe our buddy Yeshuda, going money line with the Longhorns. Now, to finish up the cap, I go to KenPom, who I highly respect when it comes to college basketball predictions. He has Texas predicted to win by 2. The other thing I like is that Rithmm, the last cherry on top here, I have 2 models. And the beauty of Rithmm, if you guys don't know, you can either just say to Rithmm, give me your best Rithmm AI models and I'll follow them, or you can create your own based on specific criteria that you value. But anyway, I have 2 models. My Rithmm model says the Longhorns should be -2.6. My Josh Rithmm model says Longhorns should be -2.1. Also, you look at Texas, aside from the fishy unranked home favorite ranked opponent, they have the better defensive efficiency. A lot of these stats you can get with a KenPom membership, 48th in the country versus 61st. You also look at Texas free throw percentage. If it's a tight game, you got to make your free throws. How many times have you seen a team screw you over and they miss these key free throws late, or they help you win a bet if they make their free throws late? But anyway, free throw percentage is in the Longhorns' favor, 75% versus 72%. And then again, home road. Texas 8-3 at home, Missouri 1-2 on the road. So you add it all up, to me, guys, this is a play for me on Texas money line, win the game. I got them at -135. We have the fishy unranked home fave ranked opponent system match. We have line movement toward the Longhorns. We have low bets, higher dollars bet splits. We also have, of course, Rithmm and KenPom both telling us it should be around a 2 or a 3-point win. So first play of the night for me is the Texas Longhorns money line. And again, I got them at -134. Next play. I joked about this on the pod. If you like Texas, you like SMU tonight. Next play that I'm going to talk about, Louisville I'm a New Englander, so I was told it's not Louisville. I know it's not Louisville, but not Louisville. It's Louisville. So I'm trying to get my pronunciation correct here. But anyway, Louisville and SMU. Another 9 o'clock game, late night game. This is on ACC Network if you're looking to sweat it. But similar situation here. We have an unranked home fave versus ranked opponent in favor of SMU. So going into this matchup, I always like to kind of give a little bit of background so you kind of know at least how these teams are playing recently, whether they're hot and you want to play them, or they're hot and they're overvalued, or they're cold and you want to buy low on them. That's always important to me. But two pretty good teams coming in. Louisville is 14-5 on the year, ranked 25th in the country. They've won 8 straight games. Just took down Virginia 81-67. Did not cover though. They were a 15-point favorite. Didn't cover that game. SMU also having a good year, 14-4, but they're unranked. Now their last game they crushed Miami, 117-74. They covered as a 6.5-point road favorite. So what have we seen across the board here? Well, this game opened SMU a 1-point home favorite. So you got to apply a couple points for home court. That's basically saying neutral court. Louisville's probably around a 1-point favorite, something like that. But what's notable to me is that the public is all over Louisville, who is the ranked team. And currently Louisville is getting around 65% of bets at DraftKings. So majority of the tickets are on Louisville, yet the line isn't down to a pick 'em or hopping the fence going to Louisville -1. It's moved further toward SMU. So SMU went from -1 up to -1.5. There are a couple shops that are juiced up, may even go to -2. So that's notable to me. You know, a lot of new bettors when they're introduced to line movement, they're looking for like a 3-point line move. When you'll see that sometimes, but oftentimes even just a juice being juiced up, which means you are, you know, -115 or higher, telling you where the next line move might be or where the liability is. But even a half-point move is meaningful, especially when you kind of compare the direction of the move to where the percentages are at. So it's notable to me that the line moved from SMU -1 to SMU -1.5 and even juiced up toward 2, despite the fact that the public is on Louisville. So this is what I didn't invent this, but I've learned it over time. Reverse line movement, RLM, when the betting line moves away from the popular side toward the unpopular side. Now, will every RLM play win? Of course not. But it's a great indicator, very quick indication of smart money. Think of it this way. If nearly 2/3 of bets are taking Louisville +1, why are the odds makers now saying, oh, you like the +1? Here, take 1.5. Here, I may even give you 2. Why are they handing out a better number to the public when the public's on Louisville to begin with? Tells me it's because they took in smart money on SMU. So you look at the splits here. SMU, they're only getting about 1/3 of bets. They're getting upwards of 60% of money. If you look out in Vegas at Circa, they're getting more than 50% of tickets, but more than 90% of money. So the sharps out in Vegas, hanging at Circa, they seem to really like SMU here as well. Once again, I mentioned with Texas, mitigate risk, money line short home favorites. So I got SMU on the money line. I believe it was ESPN bet at -125. And one thing I'm going to bank on is offense. SMU, if you haven't seen them play, really good offensive efficiency, 25th in the country. Better field goal percentage, effective field goal percentage, 55% versus 51%. Better offensive rebound percentage, 38% versus 34%, and a huge 3-point shooting edge. SMU shoots 39% from 3. Louisville's only 31%. And they also can score quite a bit, average nearly 90 points a game. By the way, they are 8-2 at home this year. So we built the case for SMU. Lastly, the cherry on top. KenPom has SMU winning by 2. Rithmm, I have 2 systems. One is SMU -1.7. The other is SMU -3. So once again, this is my style. Again, your style might be different. You might put more weight into this versus that. You might be a professional bettor. You're probably not watching this if you're a pro bettor because, you know, you lean on your own data. You don't need insights from other people. But these are just some basic things that you can incorporate into your handicap, especially if you're a new bettor, to really make sure that you're betting, quote unquote, the sharp side. But again, line move toward SMU. Bet splits look good on SMU. KenPom and Rithmm have them winning by around 2 or 3 points. That's a money line short home favorite play for me. Another unranked home fave versus ranked opponent system match. I got SMU at -125. Now, the last one here. If you like Texas and you like SMU, you like one more game tonight. And that is UCLA. Wisconsin against UCLA. Late night, 9:30 game tonight. It's on Peacock. I got to figure out, do I pay for Peacock? I don't even know. I got to figure out what channel it's on. I'm sure I'll have to scramble a minute before tip-off to figure out how to watch this one. But anyway, Wisconsin, UCLA. Wisconsin comes in 15-3. They're ranked 18th in the country, having a great year. They've won 7 straight. Just beat USC 84-69. They covered and won outright as a 1.5-point road dog. UCLA, meanwhile, 12-6. They just snapped a 4-game losing streak. They started hot. They got cold, but they did just blow out Iowa 95-70, covering as a 6-point home favorite. What have we seen across the market for Wisconsin, UCLA? Well, once again, unranked home favorite ranked opponent. You would think Wisconsin, 15-3, ranked 18th in the country, against an unranked UCLA team that's lost or just snapped a 4-game losing skid. Wisconsin's favored, right? Nope. UCLA is favored. UCLA opened as a 3-point home favorite. And the public once again says, you got it wrong. The wrong team is favored. Here's a little piece of advice. Anytime you see anyone on Twitter or you hear anyone say, yeah, the wrong team is favored, just throw that right out the window. Just that is the ultimate, like, oh, so you're telling me you're smarter than the supercomputers, all the best odds makers in the world, handling millions and tens of millions of dollars. You, Mr. Sharp Better over there, you're smarter. You think this team should be favored versus the other? Throw that right out the door. I put that right into when someone says, when someone is explaining a handicap, I think this will happen. I think. That's bias. That's personal opinion. Throw that right out. That's just one of my pet peeves when someone says the wrong team is favored, because it sounds like you're sharp. Oh, wow. Really? No. The right team is favored based upon the power ratings, the predictions, and the adjustments to the line that the odds makers set. Don't think you're smarter than the odds makers. They're the smartest around. Anyway, this opened UCLA -3, even though UCLA is unranked. Now, the public, again, says the wrong team is favored. 70% of spread bets are taking the points with Wisconsin. I get it. Good record, good team. Makes sense. But again, respecting the market, UCLA not only opened -3, UCLA is up to -3.5, even -4. So once again, if 70% of tickets are on Wisconsin taking the points, and the odds maker said, oh, earlier this morning, here's a +3 on Wisconsin. You know what? I'm giving you 3.5. I'll give you 4. Again, you got to think about it. Why are the odds makers handing out more points to the popular side? Tells me we got RLM and sharp money going with UCLA here. UCLA only getting 31% of bets, but over 40% of dollars at DraftKings. Out in Vegas, circa 50% tickets, nearly 70% money on UCLA. This is a money line play for me. Now, this is about as high as I want to go. I want to protect myself, though, and if UCLA were to win by 1 or 2 or 3, that'll not be a good result for me, laying the points. So I moneylined UCLA. I got UCLA at -170. Again, that's about as high as I want to go. I don't want to go too much higher than that, just because if you always start moneylining -170s, -200s, -250s, you may win at a high rate, but you're never really going to generate much of a profit because you're paying such high juice. But in this case, one of the reasons why I moneyline them, aside from just having to win the game versus cover, and again, I hope they cover and it doesn't matter, but sometimes it does. KenPom only has them winning by 1. Now, Rithmm has a -2.6 and a -3.2, so Rithmm is a little more bullish on UCLA than KenPom. Bruins, I would mention too, 1-day rest advantage. Last played the 17th versus the 18th. The other thing I noticed about UCLA, really good defensive efficiency, 12th in the country versus 46th for the Badgers. Better offensive rebound percentage, 34% versus 29%. And UCLA is number 1 in the country at forcing turnovers. So when they're defending, they're stealing, they're blocking, they're getting out in transition. They're forcing, or they have this is kind of it gets into a word salad, but their forced turnover percentage is 25%. So if they're playing defense on 4 possessions, they're forcing a turnover on 1 of them. You look at Badgers, they rank 278th in the country. And then the last thing that I mentioned, UCLA 9-1 at home, but also UCLA, if you pay attention to, sometimes on Twitter, coaches will have these viral moments. Mick Cronin, I played UCLA and I lost, and I was like, man, this team's terrible. After the game, Cronin called out his players, said, "You guys stink. You think you're this, you think you're that. You got no heart." I mean, he just went off on them, called them soft. They've really turned it around since then. So, hey, that's a supplementary thing, not a major thing, but hopefully you get a good effort out of UCLA. So that is my third favorite bet of the night, UCLA money line. So Texas, SMU, and UCLA, all three plays in which we have an unranked home fave versus ranked opponent system match, all three games where we have a good Rithmm edge. So based on data-driven betting and Rithmm models, those are my plays. Now, before we move over to some NFL, AFC, NFC championship thoughts, I have two more plays that I wanted to mention for you. The next one is a dog that I took the points with, and that dog is Rhode Island, URI, at home against VCU. Now, let me just pull this one up. Both these teams are playing very well this year, but we have a good Rithmm edge on Rhody in the points. So this is VCU at Rhode Island. This is a 7 o'clock game on CBS Sports Network, if you get that channel. But VCU comes in 14-4. They've won 4 straight. Just beat St. Joe's by 9 points on the road. And Rhode Island 14-4, but they've kind of rotated wins and losses their last handful of games. This is another way to use Rithmm to your advantage. Like, I am a data-driven bettor where I want the line going in my direction. I want a good edge. I want system matches, bet splits, percentages. URI doesn't have all of that. What I like about URI is a value play. And what I call a value play is basically when you're getting in the betting market a better number than what the predicted outcome is. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is that VCU opened as a favorite here. They opened as around a 6.5 point road favorite. VCU has now gotten bet up to -7.5. And when I looked at, I just said, okay, line's going toward VCU. Maybe I'll play VCU. But then I looked at KenPom and Rithmm, and they say, ooh, this is a good buy low play on Rhode Island. Now, if you look at KenPom, KenPom has Rhode Island losing by 5. Rithmm has Rhode Island plus 5.6. So if you are giving me a 7.5 on a home dog, again, I'm not calling this a sharp bet because in my theory of sharp betting, you got to have one of a few things: reverse line move, steam move, 50-50 line move, bet versus dollar discrepancy. Jeffrey R., what up, Jeff? Recap, Jeff. I'm on Texas, SMU, UCLA money lines. But anyway, this is a value play to me. It's not a sharp bet, and I think anytime you place a bet, you want to know what's my edge. If I feel like I don't have an edge, you should probably lay off. My edge on URI is that Rithmm and KenPom tell me this should be around a 5 or 6 point game. In the betting market, I'm getting 7.5. So that to me is an actionable edge. The other thing I like is that the plus 7.5 for Rhode Island is juiced up. So it's actually now plus 7.5 minus 115. Some books are coming back down to 7. Therefore, if you get the hook there, it's still available at a bunch of shops. You hopefully will beat the closing line there. And again, beating closing line, CLV doesn't guarantee a win. Sometimes the worst losses are when you beat the market and you still lose, because it's just like, man, I did my part, but the team didn't do theirs. But either way, you always want to try to beat the closing line. If you consistently long-term bet games at better numbers than what they close at, you are going to increase your chances of winning. Now, aside from the KenPom and Rithmm edge with URI, also like that they are a quote-unquote dog who can score system match. They're averaging 80 points a game. So if you're a dog getting points, you got to score, you got to keep pace or backdoor cover. And they're 10-1 at home. They have a better 3-point percentage and a better field goal percentage. So again, not a sharp bet, but a value play, plus 7.5 with Rhode Island. And then the last one, another 7 o'clock game, Kent State and Toledo. This one jumped out to me for a couple reasons. Let me just pull it up. So we are going to the MAC, and Kent State comes in. The 7 o'clock game, ESPN Plus, 11-6 for Kent State, but they have lost 2 straight. Rhode Island. I got URI still on the mind. Toledo, 10-7. They've won 4 of their last 5. So this game opened Toledo a very short 1-point home favorite. Some books even open at around a pick'em. Now we're up to -1, -1.5 toward Toledo. So the line is moving toward Toledo. So start to pop open some indicators here for Toledo because I'm intrigued by that short home fave line move. A couple things I notice. KenPom has Toledo winning by 1. Not a huge edge. Rithmm has Toledo -0.7. So not a huge edge, but if you had told me KenPom has Toledo losing by 1 or Rithmm has, Kent State minus 0.5, that would worry me. But we still, and again, this is a money line play. It's a very short money line. It's only around minus 115, minus 120. But as long as Rithmm and KenPom have the team predicted to win, that's really all that matters. Remember, money line is just winning the game. You're not having to cover the number. But you do have the market move, -1, pick them up to -1.5. And then digging a little deeper into Toledo, I saw some huge advantages offensively for Toledo. They rank 99th in the country in offensive efficiency. If you look at Kent State, the Golden Flashes, they're 283. If you look at points per game, 78 versus 70. Effective field goal percentage, 50% versus 44%. 3-point shooting, big one here, 33% for Toledo, only 25% for Kent State. And then lastly, Toledo, 4-1 at home. They played well at home. So not a huge edge, but again, Rithmm and KenPom, they have Toledo winning the game. The line's moving toward Toledo. A lot of offensive advantages. Again, that's a play that I'm firing on. I have in-pocket Toledo money line. So that's how I use Rithmm. And again, the whole point of these, Tuesday live streams, and if you've ever watched a Saturday or Sunday live stream with James Santor and myself, the whole point of these streams is to kind of teach you guys how to use Rithmm to your advantage. Because the beauty of Rithmm is there are different ways you can attack it. You're just trying to use these predictions to your benefit and isolate and find the games where you feel like you have an edge, where these really sharp Rithmm AI models are predicting one thing, and yet the betting market might be a little bit different. And you can take advantage of that difference. So Texas, SMU, UCLA, and Toledo all money lines, and I got URI plus 7.5. Now, I want to talk a little bit of NFL postseason because we're getting closer to one of the best Sundays of the year, and then sadly we'll have a week off, the Super Bowl, and then we'll have no football for quite a while. But I have some early thoughts on these games. Let's start off with the early 3 o'clock game on Sunday, Washington, Philadelphia. Now, we've seen an early move toward the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me just pull up my data for this one. Now, we opened this game, Philly, as low as a 4.5-point favorite. And Philly just got steamed up over the last couple of days, all the way up to -6. And I'm seeing some shops even get to Philly -6.5. So I always got to respect the line move. And if people, Yeshuda, yeah, Commanders were incredible. I had them plus the points, man. If you had the money line, even better. But I think a lot of people, when they just assume to always take the line move. And I think you just want to kind of think through it and respect the line move, but then also say, has a line moved so much to where, sharps bet one number and that number is no longer available, and therefore it's moved too much and may even create value to go the other way. So that's what I'm thinking here. I got to respect this Eagles money. They open again, -4.5. They're up to -6, 6.5. At DraftKings, they're getting 43% bets, 56% dollars. At Circa, they're getting 45% bets, 71% dollars. So both of those splits look really good on Philadelphia, and the line has moved in their direction. So let's see. Make sure the stream's still working for you guys. I hope so. I think we are still working here. But anyway, the line definitely moved toward Philly. But if you remember the Philly game against the Rams, one thing that was really meaningful is something someone told me a long time ago. Bet favorites early, bet dogs late. If you remember, nice to shoot. I appreciate it. Thank you, man. Favorites early, dogs late. That's just something you should always keep in the back of your head, because you got to remember the way the market is set and moves, it changes throughout the week, especially in a weekly sport like football. Like when the line first comes out, there's low limits. Thank you, Jeff. And then throughout the week, the limits get raised. But if you're a quote unquote sharp bettor, oftentimes what you're doing is you're betting earlier in the week because you feel like you have an edge. So when this opened Philly -4.5, looks like a lot of sharps said, man, we got this game at 6. Therefore, we should hit Philly right now, because if we have it at 6 and we can get a 4.5, there's actionable value there. We feel like we have an edge over the sports books. However, once a line moves so much, does it get to a point where you see buyback the other way? Or does it get to a point where, hey, that number, the value's gone. It's just not there anymore. So I'll give you the example. One play that I made over the weekend was the Rams plus 6.5. Now I got nervous because some books went to 7. And I was like, ooh, I didn't get the 7. I only got 6.5. So I was like, ooh, this isn't a good sign. But if you remember, Philly opened that game, I want to say 4.5, 5. They ended up closing 7. They won by 6. So the early sharp bettors who played Philly early at minus 5, minus 5.5 or better, they won that game. Whereas if you laid, here's the thing, if you're with the move on Philly, you like that. But remember, sharps didn't like Philly at minus 6.5, minus 7. They liked them at minus 5, minus 5.5. So it's very important. Favorites early, dogs late. I'm thinking this is a play here to buy low on Washington and take Washington. Now, I'm holding out for a 6.5. Now, I do see one book right now, FanDuel. I believe they're plus 6.5 at minus 120. A lot of books are minus 6 juiced up toward Philly. I'm thinking about doing the same thing because here's another example of, let's just say Philly wins by 6. It's a key number here. 3, 7, 6, 10. These other numbers, 13, 14. But let's say Philly wins by 6. Who knows? Jaden Daniels may win this game. That's how freaking good this kid is. But they win by 6. The early sharps who already have in pocket and bet Eagles minus 4.5, 5, 5.5, they win. The late 6, 6.5 pushes or loses. I would be shocked if this gets to 7, but I'm thinking about firing the 6.5 right now. The other thing that I like about Washington is they have one of my favorite system matches, a playoff dog who missed the postseason the previous year. You don't make the playoffs, then you do. Public kind of thinks you're not ready. The lights are too bright. Those teams are 41 and 22 ATS, 66% since 2017. That matches with the Commanders. The other thing that I like, this is a divisional game. One of my favorite systems overall is divisional dogs. Built-in familiarity, levels the playing field, takes the dog. It's pretty rare that you get a divisional game in the postseason. It just doesn't happen very often. But you've seen divisional games, again, where taking the points is the smarter move. That would match on Washington. Cherry on top. Now, we don't have a Ken Palm NFL. Someone should become the Ken Palm of NFL because there's an opening, I think. But Rithmm, I got 2 models. Now, one model says Commanders minus 1.5. So, again, that's kind of crazy because even with home field, Philly should be favored here. But I think that just speaks to the respect that the analytics have for Washington. The other one, though, this looks pretty spot on or a good edge. Commanders plus 3.7. So even if you go 3.7, you're giving me 6.5. That looks like a good play to me to play the Commanders here. So based on the Rithmm edge, based on the way the line is moved, this looks like a play here. Yeah, I should Yeshuda. But good edge Rithmm-wise toward the Commanders. So I'm looking at Commanders plus 6.5. And I would love to play plus 6.5 and then see it fall back down to 6 or 5.5. But again, we'll see how that goes. The next one is a tough one. Buffalo, Kansas City. Now, there's a lot going on here. Number one, we have seen a line move toward Kansas City. The Chiefs opened this game around -1, -1.5. Now they're 1.5 or 2 across the market. So the early move was toward Kansas City. Now, let's look at the splits here. Again, it's early in the week. Bet splits to me are always most valuable closer to game time when you have the betting public really betting these games. Like we're talking on a Tuesday. A lot of the public hasn't bet these games yet. They're at work. They'll bet them Saturday. They'll bet them on Sunday. So they can fluctuate throughout the week. Currently, though, you are getting 64% of bets on the Buffalo Bills and the points. That's at DraftKings. At Circa, you're getting 54% of bets. I smell a fade the trendy dog here. Bills are becoming a bit of a trendy dog. I get it. Kansas City, they're winning, but they're really not covering. Bills look like a team of destiny. How do you not take the points? I will mention, too, dogs have been good this postseason. They were 3-3 ATS week wildcard weekend, but they just went 4-0. So if you just want to take the points, I get it. But that's my other angle here. Yeshuda said, I want the Bills to win so badly, but how do you bet against Mahomes in the playoffs? So it's funny you bring that up, Yeshuda. I distinctly remember Eagles, Chiefs a couple years ago. I remember because my in-laws came and stayed with us and watched the Super Bowl. My mother-in-law made albondigas, which if you guys don't know, it's like a a Mexican like soup with like meatballs in it. It is so good. I also remember that was around the time when the Chinese spy balloon was going over the country. These are just how I remember games. But anyway, I played Philly and I lost. And I said I will never bet against Mahomes again, especially Mahomes in these big games. And now it's helped me. I went to Vegas for the Super Bowl last year, representing DraftKings and VSiN, and everyone was saying play San Fran. I said, nope, I ain't betting against Mahomes. It's just one of those things. He's the new Brady. And it was a sweat of a lifetime, but came through against the 49ers. So with that being said, here's some stats on Mahomes at home as a home favorite. Mahomes in his career as a home favorite, 54-12 straight up, 82%. 43-10 straight up regular season, 11-2 straight up in the postseason. Chiefs have a one-day rest advantage. They played on Saturday. Bills played on Sunday. I'm also going to look at conference championship home chalk. When you get to the AFC NFC championship game, home favorites over the last 20 years, big sample, are 26-10 straight up, 72%. So the other thing we talked about Philly, I like the 6.5 there with Commanders. How do you not tease down Philly to a pick and just say win the game? If you like Buffalo, how do you not tease them up 1.5 to 7.5? Chiefs win these games, don't always cover. That could be worth a look. But those angles of the rest advantage, Mahomes is a favorite. The vow that I made to never bet against Mahomes again in a postseason game, and the price. Like, this is one that I'm probably going to play Kansas City, but I'm going to wait on. It's basically minus 120, minus 125 right now. Maybe they get up to 2. I would be maybe 2.5 even. Even that's a low money line price. But I want to make sure I don't get this line back down to a pick, at which point later in the week that would say, hey, Bills money's coming in. But also put some stock into the fact that Chiefs, I think, were very smart. They rested their guys week 18. They had a bye week. They were fresh as lettuce last week. Bills played all 18 games. They played a tough, or they rolled against the Broncos, but they played a tough game against the Ravens. Rest versus tired, to me, would benefit Kansas City in this spot. Now, bit of a contradiction. Rithmm is saying take Bills plus 1.5. I have 2 Rithmm models. Bills are minus 0.1 and plus 0.3. So Rithmm is saying take the 1.5. Tease them up. You probably feel a little bit better. So we'll give it a few days. James Santor and myself, I think we're going to do the live stream on Sunday, dish out some player props as well. But that's where I'm leaning as of now. Commanders plus 6.5, Chiefs money line. Now, any questions? Anyone got anything they want to talk about? Victor, what up, Victor? Hey, Josh, was curious to know when you catch the bet splits. Sometimes the splits you share during your recent articles doesn't match what shows on Circa DraftKings. Yeah, Victor, great point. So the splits can change throughout the day. Early morning to afternoon to tip-off, they can really change. When I write my article for vsin.com, Victor, I'm usually writing it around noon. And from noon to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, there can be a big difference. So one thing that I would look at when it comes to bet splits is they're very important to let you know 2 questions. Where's the public? Where are the sharps? Public is based upon typically DraftKings, bigger public book, national book, the percentage of tickets. Smart money is having hopefully more money than bets. But to your point, don't live and die by the bet splits. Use them as a tool, but not the only tool. So to me, you ideally want lower bets, higher dollars. That's my overarching angle basically. But I would lean more on line movement than I would bet splits. If the splits change, but yet the line hasn't really moved, or the line has moved further toward kind of where the splits were telling you in the first place, that's a good thing. But it is a good point, Victor. They can really move throughout the day. And I would just, if you want to be careful, Victor, maybe you got a 9-to-5 job, you get home from work, I would lean on the bet splits more later in the day than earlier in the day. Later in the day, they're always accurate because they're based on the action coming in, but there's just more betting later in the day as people get out of work, as the bets fill up, to have a little bit more confidence in them, I guess you could say. I have an issue with the circus splits on VSiN. They'll have the data say, yeah, I noticed that too. Sometimes it'll say 100% on one side. I'm not going to say that's wrong, but I'm wondering if I got to talk a little bit to kind of our tech people, because I'm wondering if it's supposed to update every 5 minutes. I'm wondering if they just scrape like the first bet and they'll just put 100% on that first side. I agree with you. It looks a little weird, but I've very rarely seen anything close with 100%. Like right now, I'm looking at the college basketball splits, and let's see, go to Circa. Yeah, there's still a couple hundreds out there, 50-50s. I would lean more on these comparing and contrasting. Like, don't go to the bank only with Circa. Look at what Circa's got. Kind of lean to the low bets, higher dollars because sharper bettors go to Circa, and then DraftKings kind of look to go contrarian. But it is a really good point there. Being a little bit wary. Anytime anything is 100%, again, you want to kind of just trust but verify. Make sure it's accurate. But that's about it, guys. Ran through college hoops, ran through some early thoughts on the NFL postseason. Now I'm going to ask a favor of you. I want you all, if you haven't done it yet, to download Rithmm. Whether you're Apple, you go to the iTunes store. If you're an Android person, go to the, what is it called? Google Play. Download Rithmm. Find one person in your life to download Rithmm. Maybe it's your dad, your cousin, your uncle, your buddy, your coworker. Find someone else. Tell them about Rithmm. Have them download Rithmm, and they'll be off and running, hopefully making sharp bets. So that's all I got, and I will wish you guys a great Tuesday night. Hope you can enjoy. Hope you enjoy your college hoop sweats. Cash some tickets here. I'll be rooting for Texas, SMU, UCLA, URI, Toledo, and hopefully we can eke out a winning night. But Yeshuda, Jeffrey R., I love you guys. Thank you always for tuning in. Download Rithmm, tell a friend, and I will see you guys. I got to talk to my buddy James, but I would assume Sunday morning, 11 a.m., we'll do these Sunday sweats. But have a great night, everybody. Good luck. Cash some tickets. Download Rithmm. Give it a 5-star review, and I will see you next time. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.